Hello and welcome. My name is Amber and this is my November wrap-up. It was a okay reading month, but there were a few books that I started November and finished in December, so they're not going to be included here. So the first book I read was A Time of Dread by Gwynne. This is the second in the Of Blood and Bone trilogy, which I am really enjoying. This is the second series that I've read by Gwynne, and I think he might be becoming a auto-buy author, as I've not rated anything I've read by him lower than 4 stars. So as Of Blood and Bone is set in the same world as The Faithful and the Fallen, which is a series that comes before this one, when talking about Of Blood and Bone, there could be spoilers for The Faithful and the Fallen. So if you want to avoid these, then please skip ahead. Timestamps will be in the description, and I'll also put a time to skip to on the screen as well. So if you're wanting to skip, then skip now. And for those who are still here, Of Blood and Bone is set in a land which is mostly ruled over by the Helium, who are essentially angels. They are supposedly there to look after humans, but they do this in a very authoritarian way that causes as much harm as it does good. They are allied with the Order of the Bright Star, who disagree with most of the Helium's methods and are pretty much the people that you'd want in charge. But they are allied as they are working together to destroy the Kadashim. And the Kadashim are, in effect, demons, and they are far worse than the Helium, but have pretty much been pushed to the far reaches of the land until this series, where they are growing stronger and are gaining a bigger following. So part of the reason that they are gaining this following is because of how the Helium are treating their people, and they're sort of pushing their people to the enemy. And in A Time of Dread, the Kadashim and their followers are coming out in full force. They are adding monstrous creatures to their ranks, and are both killing and converting people. So these books are multi-perspective, and I definitely preferred some of the perspectives more than others. I especially like Drem's point of view. He's a hunter who lives far from the influence of the Helium and the Order of the Bright Star, but he is being drawn into the middle of the fighting. And I really liked the relationships that he was developing with the characters around him. Some of his scenes brought an element of humour that I appreciated, and a lot of these were to do with his interactions with the people around him, and how he, who is measured, analytical, thoughtful, is now teamed with somebody who is rash and impulsive, and that creates a dynamic that is quite entertaining to watch. I found Riv's point of view less interesting. She is with the Helium and was training to be part of their human army, which means she has grown up listening to their propaganda with no outside influence. But now she is starting to learn that they might not be as great as she's been led to believe. This sort of transition is something that I tend to really enjoy in media, but I think I don't connect to Riv as much as other characters in the book, and that has affected my enjoyment of her point of view and is making it a bit less interesting to me. It's not that I don't enjoy her scenes, I just don't enjoy them as much as the other characters. So all in all, I really enjoyed this book and gave it a high 4 stars. I'm finding with this book and Gwynne's writing as a whole, that it seems to have the perfect mix of action, intrigue, humour and emotional connection. And I really can't wait to read the next one, which I'm going to be doing at the beginning of next year. So I think over the past 5+ years, I've not read as much of this sort of fantasy, but I think these books are making me fall in love with this again and are putting me in quite a fantasy mood. And I want to read more of Gwynne's work. I also want to explore the sort of epic fantasy genre a bit more. Hopefully I'll do that next year, but I've got no concrete plans that way. Just see how it goes. Next I read Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. This was another 4 stars and I really enjoyed it. Did I not hold that up for the whole talk last time? Yeah. So in Terror at the Gates, Lilith finds a jewelled blade that will change her life forever. Well, if by find you mean steal. When she tries to sell the blade to a pawnbroker, he dies in front of her, the knife still held in his hand. So she turns to Zariv, who rules Nineveh, which is where she currently lives. So she turns to him for help, and together they try to unravel the mystery of the blade, while the world around them seems to be becoming more dangerous, in part due to the blade, but in part due to it just being a shit place to live. So Lilith and Zarif's relationship is quite complicated. He is the head of one ruling family and she is the daughter of the head of another, and she ran to his area to escape abuse by her mother and the church. She is expected to return home soon and is also expected never to get involved with Zarif. I really enjoyed this. I loved the characters, the setting, the plot, and found that the ending left me wanting more. Although it's a fantasy, it also gave me the impression of a mafia romance in places as well, which isn't a genre I tend to read from, but is one that I'm willing to try in the future. Though I feel that without the fantasy setting like here, I might not enjoy the genre as much as reading this. I'm definitely going to be picking up the sequel when it comes out though, which I think will be next year, and I'm possibly going to check out more work by Scarlett and Clair as well, as I read her Hades and Persephone series at the beginning of this year and I really enjoyed that one as well. So if I've enjoyed that, I've enjoyed this, might as well check out more. So I then read Sociopath by Patric Gagne, which is the memoir of, you guessed it, Patric Gagne, who is, you guessed it again, a sociopath. So the term sociopath has been thrown around a lot in media and in conversation, and the term will often be used negatively to describe someone who is unfeeling, without empathy, and perhaps is dangerous or a criminal. But that is not necessarily the case. And through this book, we get a better idea of what it means to be a sociopath, dispelling misconceptions and creating empathy for someone who, although does struggle with empathy, is not incapable of it. So sociopath is not currently an official diagnosis in the DSM-5, which is basically a big book of mental health conditions, which is used by mental health professionals in the US where Patric Gagne lives. But it does fall under the umbrella term of antisocial personality disorder. And Gagne goes into the problems with this, as well as the problems around it not having its own diagnostic tool, and it being a condition that has been little researched and therefore little understood. From a psychology point of view, it was really interesting, especially as I don't have much knowledge on sociopaths, and what knowledge I did have didn't include the lived experience of it, which I feel is very important in understanding health conditions. I did find that my interest waned towards the end of the book though. I think that tends to be common for me when reading memoirs, biographies and autobiographies, and it's probably a me thing rather than a book thing. So I think in the end I gave it 3 stars. I find it hard to rate memoirs because you can't exactly rate characters or plot because these are actual people and these are their actual lives. I think I rated it more on interest and enjoyment in the end, but again, how can you enjoy someone else's life? Then after reading this, I listened to the audio book for A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangy Mandanna. This I also really enjoyed. The book is about Sarah, who was once one of the most powerful witches in Britain, but then she resurrected her great aunt Jasmine and lost most of her magic in the process. Now she helps Jasmine run a magical inn, which is only ever found by those in need and is impossible to find by unwelcome guests, mostly. For many, the inn appears simply to provide them with somewhere to stay the night, but others end up there more permanently, including a fox that was once human and a knight in shining armour. Learning of an old spell book that could help restore her power, Sarah teams up with historian Luke, who is staying at the inn with his sister. So A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping is a cosy fantasy with strong themes of found family, which I just found to be really enjoyable. It was relaxing to read and fully absorbed me. I hope to read more by this author as well, as this is the second book of hers that I've loved. And I think I rated the last book I read by her, which was a book with a similar title that I can't remember. I rated that 4 or 5 stars as well as rating this one 4 stars. So that is all I read in November. It was a fairly slow reading month for me, and a month that seemed to disappear really fast as well. I don't even know why it went so quickly, but it's gone. So how about everyone else? How was your November? Did you read anything with cozy autumn vibes? Or did you go rogue with beach reads or something? So let me know in the comments. And as always, like this if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll catch you in the next one.